Let me describe someone to you. She's reliable, capable. She's the person people call when something falls apart. She holds her family together. She shows up for her community. She carries responsibility the way other people carry a purse. So naturally, nobody thinks to ask if it's heavy. She loves God. She works hard. She rarely complains. And she's exhausted in a way she cannot fully explain to anyone because from the outside, everything looks fine. If that's you, I need you to stay right here because this entire episode is for you. And it might be the first time someone has described your life from the inside. High capacity doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't mean, she has it all together or that she doesn't struggle. It means she can hold a lot, and she does. She's the woman who manages more than most people even attempt. Career or business, family, faith, community, friendships, finances, her own health usually last on the list, other people's emotional needs, the logistics of an entire household, often the emotional labor of relationships that nobody else is tracking. She's smart, she's resourceful, dependable, she figures things out. When a problem appears, she doesn't wait for someone to solve it. She does it. That's just who she is. She's also, and this is the part that rarely gets named, deeply feeling. She cares profoundly about the people in her life, about doing things right, about her faith, about her calling, about serving others, about whether she's enough. That caring isn't weakness in her. It is really her greatest strength, and it is also the thing that makes the weight so heavy because she can't turn off the caring. She can't stop noticing what needs to be done in the world, in her life, in her community. She can't let things fall that she can see are falling. So she catches them every time at a cost she rarely calculates. Usually both. Some of it is wiring. Some women are just born with a nervous system that is more attuned, more responsive, more aware of what's happening around them. That attunement is a gift. It makes them extraordinary mothers, leaders, wives, builders, but some of it was built over time. Maybe she was the responsible one growing up. Could be the oldest child who learned early that somebody had to hold things together. The one who got praised for being mature, capable, reliable, put on a pedestal. So now she has to keep performing. Maybe she watched someone she loved struggle and decided consciously or not that she would never be in that position. She would be prepared. She would, handle things. Maybe her faith community taught her explicitly or implicitly that serving others was the highest form of devotion, that her needs were secondary to that, that strength meant self-sacrifice. Maybe she was a Black woman or a woman of color who absorbed the cultural narrative of the strong woman who was praised for endurance in ways that made her feel seen, but was actually a crown she never agreed to wear. So whatever the specific path, somewhere along the way, she learned that her capacity was an asset and she leaned into it, and the world kept adding to her load because she kept showing she could carry it. And she can, but carrying is not the same as thriving. The visible load is obvious: the job, the business, the kids, the home, the responsibilities everyone can point to. But the invisible load is what's actually breaking her. The mental labor, the constant tracking of everyone's needs, schedules, emotional states, and unspoken expectations. The list that runs in the background of her brain every waking moment, and sometimes even in her sleep. The emotional labor, being the safe person for everyone else, holding space for other people's pain and fear and confusion while managing her own privately. The anticipatory anxiety, thinking 3 steps ahead at all times, trying to prevent problems before they happen, living in a constant state of low grade preparation for what might go wrong. The performance pressure, the sense that she cannot have a bad day, cannot fall apart, cannot need too much because people are depending on her and she will not let them down. The grief that she hasn't processed. I can relate to this one because there's never a good time, because processing it would require her to stop, and stopping felt responsible. It's always kids need to be fed, everything needs to keep going. The dreams she puts aside, the things she wanted for herself that got quietly buried under responsibility, not with drama, just gradually until she forgot to miss them. And underneath all of it, a question she rarely says out loud: is this all there is? Not from ingratitude, but from longing, from the sense that she was made for something fully alive, deeply purposeful, truly at rest, that she hasn't quite been able to reach yet. Because she's extraordinarily good at looking fine. And it's not dishonest. She's just, she's not performing for sympathy. She genuinely shows up well. She manages her responses. She keeps going. And the people around her have learned, because she has shown them, that she handles things. So they bring her their things and she handles those too. She trained everyone around her to need her by always being available. And now the expectation is baked in. The other reason nobody sees it, she rarely shows it. It's not like she's hiding, but because she doesn't feel entitled to it. She just compares her internal experience to everyone else's external presentation, and she just concludes from that she must be weak for struggling with things others seem to handle fine. She doesn't realize they're doing the same thing she is. Everyone looking fine, everyone carrying more than they're saying, everyone waiting for someone else to go first. Several reasons, and they layer on top of each other. The first is identity. Asking for help requires admitting she cannot do something alone, and her entire sense of self has been built around being the one who can. Needing help feels like contradiction, like she's failing at being herself. The second is history. In her experience, help often came with conditions, with judgment, or with people not doing it the way it needed to be done. Been guilty of that. With her having to manage the help itself, which was more exhausting than just doing the thing. You've heard people say, I'll just do it myself because, I'll do it right. So she stopped asking because it was just easier to do it herself. The third is protection. If she asks for help, she has to show someone where she's struggling, and being vulnerable with the wrong person, being seen as weak, being dismissed, not having a voice, being given advice when she needed to be heard, that risk feels too high. So she just stays quiet, stays capable, stays alone with it. And the fourth is theology. She genuinely believes at some level, that needing help is a lack of faith, that God said, it should be sufficient, that leaning on others is a sign she isn't leaning enough on him. But God designed us for community, for inner dependence, for bearing one another's burdens. The same woman who would never let someone she loved carry something alone has somehow decided that the rule doesn't apply to her. It applies to her. She's not exempt from needing. She's not more holy for suffering silently. She's not a better servant for running on empty. She's just someone who hasn't given herself the same grace she gives everyone else. Everything eventually in her body, the chronic tension, the exhaustion that sleep can't touch, the hormonal dysregulation, the immune system that keeps dipping, the weight that won't move no matter what she does. Her body is keeping a record she hasn't, realized yet. In her relationships, she becomes less present, more irritable, less available in the ways that actually matter, because she's so physically and emotionally depleted that she's running on autopilot. She shows up, but she's not really there. In her faith, it can start to feel like performance, like she's just going through the motions, like God feels far away, even though she knows theologically he isn't. The disconnection is not spiritual, it is neurological. A dysregulated nervous system cannot access the felt sense of peace and presence that she is searching for in her devotional life. In her calling, she gets close to something, has a vision, a download, a sense of what she's supposed to build, and then the weight of everything else buries it again, and she grieves it quietly again. And her sense of self, this is the deepest cost. She slowly loses touch with who she is outside of what she does. So her identity becomes her function. Her worth becomes her output. And one day she looks up and realizes she cannot remember the last time she did something just because she wanted to, just because it made her feel alive. That is the real cost, not the tiredness or the disappearing. She needs to be seen, not fixed, not advised, not given another thing to add to her list. She needs to be seen and heard. Someone who can look at her full life, the load she carries, the way she got here, what it costs her, what she's afraid of, what she's longing for, and say, I see all of that. And you are not too much. And you are not failing. And you do not have to keep going at this pace to be worthy of love, rest, or calling. She just needs permission to need, permission to rest without earning it, permission to want things for herself that have nothing to do with serving anyone else, permission to be a whole person, not just a function. She needs a framework that actually fits her, not just generic self-care advice that assumes she has 4 free hours on a Sunday morning, not wellness content that just adds more to her plate under the guise of helping. She doesn't need a program that requires her to completely overhaul her life to see results. She just needs something that meets her exactly where she is, that understands she is carrying a lot and is not asking her to put it all down overnight. That works, something that works with her wiring, not against it. And she needs to know she's not alone in this. If she doesn't like waking up at 5 a.m., she doesn't need to be doing that, because one of the loneliest parts of being the strong one is the belief that everyone else is somehow managing better, that she is uniquely failing at something others are handling fine. She's not. She is surrounded in every room she walks into by other women who are doing exactly what she is doing, carrying too much, looking fine, waiting for someone else to go first. Like I said, someone needs to go first. Let it be you. I want her to feel found, not fixed, found, because I want her to watch this and think, someone finally described what it's actually like to be me. Not the version of me that people see, the real me, the one that's tired in ways I can't explain, the one that's longing for something I can't quite name, the one that gives everything and wonders sometimes if anyone would notice if I needed something too. I see her because I have been her, and I built everything I've built, the quiz, the framework, the program, for her. Not for the woman who has it together, for the woman who looks like she does. Start with the quiz, because the first step is in returning to yourself is understanding how you specifically drift. So your rhythm type tells you the pattern, how you overfunction, where you overgive, what your nervous system reaches for when it's under pressure, and most importantly, what your specific return path looks like. So that's not generic information, that's yours. It'll take you 3 minutes. Take the quiz, the link is in the description, and I'll see you there.